As we speak, I have been working on a Sunday school series. A Sunday school series that is very important to me because of things that happened at my church this past summer. We had a shooting. People died at a church in a parish hall at a beautiful supper for outreach. It was a wonderful thing. So I have to develop Sunday school classes to help people understand the issues of spirituality and prayer, and that good things happen to good people and to bad people, and bad things happen to bad people and good people. And we can't always just say there is a reason for it, because that sometimes tears away the integrity of the gospel itself, gets into deep theologic concepts. I say this to start off because such a program did not exist at my church, so I've had to develop it. The nice thing is that I also have access to a lot of fabulous scholarly databases and can find out pretty quickly what does and does not work as a general rule. But here's the issue. My church is different from other places. Your church or your house of worship is different from others. So there are times where we have to be innovative. We have to personalize things for our organization, for our particular location, and for the experiences of that group. So I ask you to think through, what does your lodge or other body need? Part of the leadership of a chaplain is listening, helping people to do their best. And I will remind you yet again, you have heard this many times during this course, it's not about you. You are the facilitator. And if someone has to say thank you to you, you're doing it for the wrong reason, especially if you are in commandery as a prelate. It is never about you. To God goes all glory. That is one of the mantras of the Knights Templar. No one ever has to say thank you to us. It's to God they have to say thank you. But it's also God's place, not yours, to correct them. Use your listening skills. Find out what has been offered. Find out what the needs really are. And then find out if there were great programs before that helped this. Revive them if necessary. But sometimes the old programs that were successful just aren't anymore. People have changed. The world has changed. So with a new program, one of the best things that you're ever going to hear is the idea of, it might not work. Great. What have you got to lose? It might work. It might not, but it might. Trying things. Listen well to what people say, and then, if you think back a couple units, what are they actually trying to say? What do they mean, in spite of what words they're using? Be willing to try something new. Every major innovation has started off as something else. In the world of pharmaceuticals, for example, most drugs that have benefited humanity have come from something completely different. We are opportunists as a species, and that's not a bad thing. Try something new. Expect there's always going to be someone there who says, oh, we tried that when I was master and it didn't work at all. Just because they failed or their program failed back then does not mean it's going to fail now. It might have been a perfect program just at the wrong time with the wrong people around. Be willing to try new things, to educate, to inform, to help strengthen the faith of the members. And then remember that just because there is a program doesn't mean that that program has to be done the same way at your lodge as it was done elsewhere. That individual who is a member of your lodge, who is in a class or a course or training or whatever, that is the most important person in the world. If it's a candidate, if it's a new Mason, if it's a past master or past grandmaster, if it is to help them, they become the most important person We also have to remember that not everyone learns the same way. A researcher named Gardner, many, many years ago, recognized that there are different types of intelligence. Most people don't understand what their type is. Most people will tell you they're visual learners. Not everyone's a visual learner. Most people actually are not, from what the research says. But they don't always learn in the same way. And sometimes we have to change on the fly and think through. That's the hard part of teaching. It's a hard part of being a chaplain, is altering things as you go. We also recognize that Masonry is broad. Not all of us come from the same background. One of the most beloved past masters, the master who was master of my lodge when I was raised, was a street sweeper. The guy was not this highly educated individual. He could have been, he had brilliance, but he didn't have access because of life circumstances. Still one of the finest men I've ever known, still an amazing human being who I'm proud to call brother and who I'm proud to say I've learned so much from. We have different backgrounds. Make sure that you are not pushing people down because of bias, whatever it is. And in this world right now, there's a lot of anti-intellectualism. Don't push people down because they have degrees. Don't push them down and say that they're idiots and they don't know to come in out of the rain. I know Nobel laureates, and they're pretty street-savvy people. I also know people who literally don't know to come in out of the rain, who are across the job spectrum. Make sure that you are willing to change and you are willing to evaluate yourself and see where you are the one who has problems that need to be fixed, that are standing in the way of good educational offerings, good training for young Masons or members of your organization. And recognize also that almost all great successes are preceded by a number of great failures. We want you to look at how you find the strength to continue trying. Masonry is full of old jokes about old past masters and light bulbs. One of my favorite ones ever, told by a brother who is a retired Methodist minister. And he said, "How many past masters does it take to change a light bulb in lodge?" I said, "How many?" He said, "Change? We don't change anything in this lodge." Well, the unfortunate truth is that that's often the case, and those are the lodges that die. Those are the lodges that stop being vibrant, that stop growing, that stop helping men to become better men. For our assemblies and our demolay, those are the ones that we see falling apart, that don't grow, that don't have young people clamoring to get in. Trust yourself enough to try, even if it fails. Learn from failure. Continue to try to make your organization better, to try and make God's love and mercy pervasive throughout everything that you do in your lodge. For those of you in commandery, you'll be reminded that we will tell you again and again, that is how God is glorified. Try the effort. You are not perfect. You're going to fail. Learn from your failures, and you'll succeed.